Happy Monday to all of you. Welcome to the newest Art Journal Watch Along video. This week I am working in my other book, the one that has the portraits layout, not the one that I used last week. I want to go for more of a paper piecing or pattern paper design this week, less the painting parts, because I thought it would just work with this week's topic. So while you watch this, I'm on an impromptu vacation with my parents, and I really like when we come up with something that is, well, short term, not really planned, a long time, and well, you can make it happen. And now I have to sneeze. Oh, sorry. So so I wanted to make this impromptu vacation the topic for the week. So since vacation probably in 99.9% of the time has to do something with travels, I got out my old school book of geography and whatnot, and I chose a page of the area we are now at, and I'm not gonna tell you what it is. I just say it's somewhere in Germany. So I just pulled one page, and then I'm going to cut it to the form and the size that I need. And I want this to be the background of today's design, going for, well, maybe an old diary look that, well, when you open one of these old books where somebody collected stamps and receipts and whatnot of some occasion, like a vacation, for example, I wanted to go for that look. So I got the background already cut, and now I'm cutting a couple of bags from, I don't know what magazine it is. I think it was an arts and crafts magazine. I'm not sure though. So I just went through and I just found some lovely photos of bags that you could take with you on a travel. So I'm just cutting those as embellishments for the page. I also cut that receipt on the upper right hand side of the page from the orangey pattern paper that you can see on the left hand side of the screen. And that way I'm just collecting different kinds of paper pieces that I want to glue down on the page and have as a focal point for today's design. I also want to go for warmer, pretty much sepia colors. I want to make it look old and, well, maybe an old memory, an old diary, something like that. Not the newest kinds of memorabilia on there, although I use very recent, very new, well, things here, like magazines and maps and whatnot, but I still want to make it look old. So that's pretty much the thought that goes on in my head when I'm at that stage cutting out the bags for the travel. So I'm already planning how I want this page to look in the end, and where I want to have my focal point and what kind of supplies I want to use, what color scheme I want to use, all of that. So the last thing I'm going to cut is this quote here, which is in German. So if you're not a German speaker, let me translate. It says something to the meaning of vacation in the style of families. So there's this traditional vacation thing, then there is the student after college kind of traveling and being on vacation, and then there's the way you are going on vacation as a family. It's just kind of different, and I thought that quote was just so lovely and so fitting because I'm going away on an impromptu short vacation with my parents, and so it's the family way of making vacations. So now that I got all of my bits and pieces cut, it's time to glue everything down. And I'm starting with the background, of course, and I'm already putting aside some of the colors that I'm going to use on top. And just to make my page less wobbly and have a solid background where I can put some pressure on, I'm putting that plexiglass in the back. And then I'm just using normal craft glue, and I'm applying that to the whole page before I glue down the map of the region that I'm vacationing at. And maybe you already recognize where I am. I'm not gonna say it. Let me know in the comments below if you know where I am. So again, tiny hint there, I'm still in Germany, but yeah. Where am I? So this is just pretty basic so far, nothing fancy here, just cutting a couple of papers and gluing them down. But the next thing I'm gonna do, once I have this page glued to my art pad and having the excess paper cut, I'm going to paint the backgrounds. So if you watch a lot of art journal videos on YouTube, you know that, or you have seen it already probably, that a lot of people use gesso to put whatever pattern paper they're using into the background, just to have it look through or see through. And well, not having a solid layer of color on top. So gesso is pretty expensive, at least in my region, and there's, while there is quite a couple of things that you could use that paste for, it's pretty much quote unquote only for paper piecing and preparing the backgrounds. I found another way to achieve the same thing, but I could use the supply for other things as well, and that is using zinc white acrylics. So that white, as you can see in a few seconds, is not opaque. It's actually a mixing white, which doesn't fade out other colors, but just brightens them. And with this tissue paper here, I'm just rubbing the zinc white all over the page, and you can see how well you can see through the layer of color and see the background, but it's still faded out quite a bit. So I'm actually using zinc white instead of gesso to, well, put something in the background, just have it faded. And if you're painting in acrylics a lot, you might even have zinc white in your stock already, and you can use that easily and not have to buy gesso on top for only that particular way of applying the paste to any art piece that you're doing. So I'm just saving myself some money here by, and I'm pretty much achieving the same thing. So once I have that done, which quite a bit complicated on the second layer, just because my page has a mind of its own and is wiggling all around. Once I have that done, I'm going to just dry the page with my blow dryer, which is fairly quick, and I have sped up that part because it's not that interesting to watch along when I'm holding my blow dryer over my page, right? So once that's done, I'm going forward with my light ochre or sienna acrylics that you can see on the left hand side already. I really like that color, using it to aging or giving something a vintage look. So since I want to go for an old crumbly page with coffee stains and whatnot, I'm definitely going to use light ochre acrylics for that. And on the right hand side, I'm going pretty solid, but I'm fading the color out the more I go to the middle and the higher I go on the page. So you can see I'm using a very soft brush here, and I don't have the acrylics watered down, so I'm just pretty much lightly, with a very light touch, going over the page, and I'm just quote unquote coloring the bits and pieces that stand out from the page. So any crinkles that are there from gluing the map down, I'm just coloring those, and I'm pretty much just going over it with a very, very light hand. So on the right hand side, where there is that blob of solid light ochre color, I'm going to put down my quote there and the receipt that I cut out. So I know that I'm going to use that blob of color as a frame or as a drop shadow for my paper pieces, but I'm going to add way more for all the others in a few minutes. So now on this receipt ticket here, I'm using a bit of the same color just to, well, blend it to the background a bit or give it the same tone, especially with the backside here. The very bright yellow would just be not looking anything like vintage or just old. And I plan to curl up the lower part of that ticket, so I needed to have the same sepia tone on the backside of the ticket, just to make it look harmonic and well, appealing to the eye. So now that I have my biggest blobs already put in and well, decided where I wanted to have two of the embellishments, I'm now checking where do I want to go with the luggage. Where do I want to put that? Because of course I need a drop shadow behind those bags and that sentiment there as well. And I'm just trying to figure out how I want to put that. Where do I need some more of that sepia or like ochre tone? Where do I want to have that? And how far do I want to go into the page with a solid layer of sepia? So that's what I'm doing here. And now that I have decided where I want to go, I'm just rubbing a bit of the brown acrylics over the spot where I want to have my pieces of luggage there. This is quite a simple design this week. It's though it looks very busy and looks like it has a ton of layers, it's actually quite the simple design technique wise, and I really like how you could make something look quite complicated when it's not, and have it the other way around as well in comparison to, for example, last week's page. So I really liked that. Back to the piece, I have my brown drop shadows all placed. So now I can add the sentiment, and it looks like it belongs there. I think that a bit of light ochre, especially on the left hand side, just makes such a difference. And then I'm placing my bags down there and also glue them. Since I'm overlapping, especially the middle one, I really have to start with that one and make sure that I have it on the right spot. So I'm using the same craft glue that I also used for the background page, and by wiggling it around, it actually forms a nice smooth flat layer of glue on the back side of the magazine paper, not have it like with a big blob in the middle and then the edges curl or something like that. So just wiggling a bit helps a lot. So now that these 3 pieces of luggage are put down, I am just waiting a bit to let them set, maybe like half a minute I'd say, or maybe also a minute, and then I can work just around them and they won't won't be moved around anymore because they're just solid glue. Glued solid around to the page. And while I wait for the bags to dry, or the glue behind them I should say, I'm curling that ticket here with my bone folder, bone thing, well, with the thing from the thing, you know. Oh gosh, I can't talk today. No, well, I'm just curling the lower part of the ticket over my bone folder, and that actually helps make it look even older and more used. So I'm just deciding how high I want to have that ticket on my page, and then I'm just using a normal clip here and just put it on the page. No glue, no nothing. And I think that little clip there actually makes quite a difference. It just adds the feel of a diary or something. You won't have everything glued down there. So with a bit of chalk ink, which is pretty much the same color as my acrylics there, so it's also light ochre sepia colored. I'm adding a bit more to the page, to the embellishments, which is the difference between the ink and the acrylics is that I could control the light touch with the inks a bit more. So that's why I used ink and acrylics for the same color. And now I'm adding a very dark brown, which I think could be a chocolate brown or a Van Dyke brown of the same kind of ink, just to go around the page and also the edges of the ticket here. And then I'm having an empty cup of coffee there, and I'm just using it to make coffee stains pretty much. But they didn't turn out as well as I thought, but I like these, well, little stains on the page. And it's so simple, just apply a bit of that ink to the bottom of your cup, and you can clean it easily in the dishwasher or whatnot, so don't worry, it's your cup is not ruined. I'm just going around the lower one. I actually wanted a bit more of a coffee stainy look, but that didn't come out the way I thought it would. And since I don't have a stamp with coffee stains, and I didn't really want to go for real coffee stains, I think it's just okay with the brown ink splotches there. And I'm going to make it work in the end. It will look well, complete and right in the end. So The next thing that I decided to do was adding a compass. So when you travel, of course, you need to have maps, and maybe you want to know where north, south, and whatnot is. So I thought I add a compass, and for that I want to use the upper coffee stain there next to the ticket. And I'm just using my letter stamps here to stamp the 4 letters of the 4 directions. And for that I'm using the same dark chocolatey Van Dyke brown. I think it's just way better to use a dark brown there than a black or any other color, just because dark brown suggests vintage and age, and it works perfectly fine with the sienna colors here, or light ochre, whatever you want to call it. So I'm just stamping the 4 letters, and then I thought I'd like to make this star that you often see in the middle of compasses with the same ink and a brush. And I tried, but it didn't look nice at all, and in the end I just covered it up. So pretty much I'm going to show you the next step that I did, just to have it real time and you can see my failures as well. But I didn't like it at all. So I used just a normal watercolor brush, and that actually worked nice. The brush was soft enough, so that was good. But it's just the way the ink behaved on that angled flat brush. It was very strong on one side and then faded out to the others in a way that I did not like at all. You could not really blend anything. So I, in the end, just covered that whole circle there and re-stamped the 4 characters for the directions, and just having some dark blobs around it, like coffee stains again. That actually worked pretty well with the globe that I'm gonna use as a cover for that mishap compass there. So before I put the brush and the ink away, though, I'm using it to make the shadows for the bags, because I could cover smaller areas than as if I would go in with the whole ink pad. Although it's a tiny ink pad, but still, just getting those lines there is way easier with a brush, and before I put it into water straight away, so that my that the brush and the bristles are not ruined from the ink. I'm just gonna cover all of that first before I go into the globe. So from the same geography book that I used for the background, I cut this globe here. And the picture with the words and everything actually describes how Earth rotates at which angle and how the magnetic poles are working there. So that's why you have that magnet, red and green, in the middle. But I thought it's just fine. And I mean, a compass also works with magnets. So I think that globe there works well with the 4 letters of direction. It doesn't look weird or take anything away. So I'm just using the same craft glue as always, and then I'm just putting it down and using the same dark brown ink and re-stamping those 4 letters. You can see the N, W, and S are pretty much partially covered up by the globe. The E is okay, but at first I didn't plan to restamp it, but you can see here the big difference between stamping once and stamping twice, and I thought it would just look weird if there's just one letter that has thinner lines. So in the end I also re-stamped the E. And weirdly enough, that globe makes for a very nice different focal point that I didn't plan on, but that prominent blue pretty much. Well, it works so well in all these different kinds of shades of brown, and it brightens up the page a bit, I think. So the next thing that I did was taking some plastic green shrubbery that I had in my stock. I do have a few plastic or cloth flowers, I should say, and I'm using them once in a while on whatever. And today I thought I'd use some of that grass. So underneath the spot where I want to put it, I'm using a bit of ink, this time the darkest green that I have, and this is pretty much a very warm green, so a sap green maybe, or yeah, pine tree green, something like that. So it's a very dark, very warm green, which I think works very nicely with the brown colors on the page so far. And then I'm just cutting those plastic grass things to the length that I want. And then I'm using super glue, and I'm just gluing down all the tiny pieces of grass there. To save you some boredom, I'm going to speed up the gluing part of the grass because it's pretty much the same thing all the time. It's fairly simple. Putting down some super glue, putting down the grass, that's it. Next up, now I have all the grass put down, and I'm using this crap paper, I think. Next up, I have everything glued down, and I'm using this brown paper here to make, I don't know, a border, a box, a wall, something that might be in your imagination. And I'm just using strong craft glue for the lower part, and the upper part I'm going to crumble it a bit, which makes just a nice border. It could also be like a flower pot or something. It's up to your imagination what you see in this dark brown piece here. Once that I have applied that, I am just going to have it sit there for a bit and just have it settled. And then I'm adding some mustard colored wool that I had. It was just remains of another project that I did, I think last winter. I did some knitting in that color, and these were just the remains that I had in my stock, and I thought they would not look nice with the color scheme. So I'm just wrapping that yarn around the whole lower part of the page, and then I'm tying a bow. I think it's a flower pot, that dark brown thing here. So I'd say we're having some embellishments and some lovely things on that flower pot, and the bow is one of them. So it's just fairly simple, just a normal knot, tying a bow, just like with any other bows you might tie, either on, I don't know, your shoelaces or any cards and anything. So it's nothing fancy there. Then I'm just cutting the tails of the yarn, and I think it really looks lovely with the background. I mean, the color does. That mustard or curry colored yarn is just, it looks just perfect, I think. I like the color schemes a lot. It also looks lovely with the green of the grasses that I glued down there, so it's just a nice thing. But I decided to put some more embellishment on it, and for that I took a button that I had in my stash as well, and some copper color spray, and I'm just going to spray the button because I think that black is just, it doesn't look nice. It's not really working with the page since I was going for brown colors, old colors, and the black was just too dark. You could really see that button. So I just sprayed the button with that lovely copper spray, and then I just dried it with my blow dryer, which did not only make this fast, but it made sure that I had the colors stay on to the plastic, and that was just working very well. I did leave the book open overnight in the end, so that any remains of that varnish there could dry out completely, and that worked just fine. But for now, with the tweezers, I can hold the button and glue it down with my extra strong craft glue. Just push it in place, and that looks way better than the black button. So one of the last things I always do is go in with permanent markers, and I'm doing so here as well, with a very thin one that's 0.3 millimeters black permanent marker, and I'm just going around bits and pieces where I feel some black line would work. So for example, at the handles of the bag, and some lines of the letters on the compass, pretty much all on the left hand side, so it could work something like a shadow or something like that. It just looks more appealing to the eye, and it's just a minor detail that looks lovely when you really look at the page. And I'm doing the same thing with white permanent marker, though this tip is way thicker, it's 1 millimeter. And I'm just adding bits and pieces here as well. Wherever I feel a highlight would be in order, or a nice line would be in order, something to separate things. So for example, around the luggage here, the line is not meant as a highlight, but to separate the brown bags from the brown background. So that line just does it. And at the ticket on the top left side of the ticket, it's pretty much a highlight, I'd say. And those grasses, I think, looked more like African, I don't know, tundra or something. And I thought that would be irritating because I'm not in Africa, I'm in Germany or Europe. So I added some tops to the grass that could be a hint to where I actually am. And I'm just adding a few of black outlines to those white bumples there. And that's a technical term, you know. I don't know what these grasses or flowers are called, but you see them in certain places around the globe. So you might know in what kind of a region I actually am. So I'm just adding those black lines to make those white tops of the grasses separate from the background again. Since I'm having this see-through white background, don't forget that. So to make those white tops visible, you have to have some black or brown outlines. The last thing, I'm putting down the date, and that's pretty much it. So I thank you very much for watching along. Please like, share, subscribe. Otherwise, if you have any questions, any comments, please let me know in the comments section. And I'm going to see you next week with a new art journal watch along video. Thanks so much. Bye bye.